Happy hour at Walters is from 4 to 7 p.m., Monday through Friday. $5 specials on draft beers, house wine, and rail cocktails. Walters is located just across the street from the ballpark.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat, emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month. Even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending. Zero tears. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
The 0-1. Swing a high fly ball deep to right field. Johnston back, looks up. It's way out of here. Another 2-run homer from C.J. Abrams. This game is tied at 4. A towering shot into the second deck and right from Abrams. Home runs number 23 and 24 tonight for C.J.
Here it comes. Swing a fly ball left field. Back in this one, Lyle to the warning track at the wall. It's gone. And the Rockies lead 8-7. Home run number 31 for Goodman breaks the tie here in the bottom of the 8th. He golfed a slider just above the dirt, out of the ballpark into the first row by the 390 mark in left center. Romano ready for the 1-2. He kicks and deals. Swing and a miss on a ball in the dirt. Goodman applies the tag, pumps his fist. It was his home run that provides the winning margin as the Rockies even the series with an 8-7 win.
And welcome to Nats Chat. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. I'm joined by Washington Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman of NatsJournal.com. He is at Coors Field in Denver. Water is wet, fire is hot, and lots of runs are scored in games at Coors Field. We have grown accustomed to that over the decades. We on Tuesday night had a Coors Field specialty for the Washington Nationals in Game 2 of a 3-game series at the Colorado Rockies. An 8-7 loss at the Rockies in a game in which at least one run was scored in 9 of 17 half innings. Seesaw battle, back and forth, but the Nats did lose. They in MLB's 2026 regular season are back at 551 and 51 run differential of plus 18. The Rockies now are a National League worst 41 and 62 with a National League worst run differential of minus 93. This installment of Nats Chat brought to us by the nonprofit Chesapeake Climate Action Network Action Fund. Tired of paying $4 for a gallon of gas? CCAN Action Fund is raffling 3 amazing electric cars, including a Rivian SUV, as part of an annual fundraiser to fight for clean air in the DMV. The drawing is July 30th, almost here. Tickets available at evraffle.org. That's evraffle.org. We had more great offense from the Nats, but more bad pitching from the Nats. And, Mark, it's not that the final score was that bonkers. I mean, 8-7 isn't that, outrageous. But it was the nature of this game that so stood out. And like I said, this is what you get at Coors Field. But it felt like in every half inning, the team that was batting had at least a runner, if not multiple runners on base, and was scoring at least one run. And back and forth we went. I haven't even attempted to count the number of lead changes in this game on Tuesday night, but it was certainly wild in that regard.
It just felt like one of those nights, Al, where whoever was up last was going to score the winning run. And it didn't exactly work that way because the Rockies scored in the bottom of the 8th and the Nats didn't do it in the top of the 9th, so that ended it. But it almost felt like anything that happened in the first 6-7 innings didn't matter. You knew it was going to be close. You knew it was going to be high scoring. Whoever converted late was going to win the game. And I think that will make you focus on the winning run, the home run by Hunter Goodman off Clayton Beeter. But honestly, that one didn't bother me. It's not a bad pitch. It's a slider down below the knees. Goodman didn't hit it that hard, only 95 off the bat. It may not be a home run in any other ballpark. I felt like it was all the other little things that led up to that point that were probably more of an issue for the Nationals than the actual way that the winning run scored. I know we've put so many losses on the bullpen this year. I don't know that's really the way to go with this one, or at least specific to Beeter and that winning run.
Yeah, I mean, the non-opener, non-bulk man portion of the pitching staff did some good things in this game for sure. The opener did not work out so well, although the first inning did go well. So the Nats in this game used an opener and reliever Carson Palmquist. He allowed 4 runs in 1 2/3 innings. He tossed a scoreless bottom of the first, but he in the bottom of the second allowed 4 runs on a double, 2 singles, a walk, and a hit by pitch. So the opener strategy did work well in that bottom of the first, but having Palmquist work the bottom of the second did not work out. Now, we have seen him go multiple innings in opener outings previously and do well, but he did not do well in this game in pitching in that way. And then Miles Mikolas came into the game as the Nats bulk man. This in his return from his suspension, his 5-game suspension for his role in the benches and bullpens clearing incident in the Nats 8-1 win at the Boston Red Sox on June 30th. Now, Mikolas began his outing in the game by getting a big out. He in the bottom of the second with a runner on first, 2 outs, and the Nats down 4-2, induced a ground out by the Rockies' number 3 batter, Hunter Goodman. So Miles Mikolas came into the game as a fireman, but Mikolas for the game allowed 3 runs in 3 2/3 innings. He gave up 6 hits, which were a homer, 2 doubles, and 3 singles. 1 strikeout versus no walks. He threw a lot of strikes, 66 pitches, 47 strikes, 19 balls. But ultimately, 3 runs in 3 2/3 innings, and Palmquist the 4 runs in 1 2/3 innings. Like I said, we've seen Palmquist work multiple innings in opener outings, but man, that approach sure did not work out in this game.
No, it didn't. Now, I have no problem with him coming back for the second inning. He looked sharp in the first. The Rockies had a bunch of lefties in their lineups, even though they're facing the lefty opener. And if you're going to pull him after 1 inning, you're putting Mikolas into the game early. And how far are you taking him before you then go to the rest of your bullpen? This was a game we knew all along. They're going to use a bunch of arms, and you probably want to try to minimize the amount of time that Mikolas is out there. So I don't fault the strategy of bringing Palmquist back out there for the second. What I fault is how that inning starts. It's a leadoff walk and then a hit by pitch. So he's putting himself into a jam, by the way, right after C.J. Abrams had given him a 2-0 lead in the bottom of the first. What you talk about the shutdown inning, but even more than that, your teammates just staked you to a lead. Don't go giving them free base runners to set up the possibility of a big inning, which is exactly what happened. Now, it was the hits later on that scored those runs, but I kind of point to those first 2 batters. He walks Rumfield, and then he hits Karros with a pitch, and now he's in a jam. And because there's lefties coming up, you're not going to bring in Mikolas in that spot. You're going to have to ride Palmquist at least until you get back to Goodman's spot in the lineup, and it backfired. It just didn't work. The guy just didn't get the job done in the spot that he was asked to do it in.
Going to be very interesting to see how Nats openers do with P.J. Poulin on the 15-day injured list. Now, the Nats lately had kind of gotten away from Poulin as a designated opener, so if Poulin was healthy, to what extent he still would be serving in the opener role for the Nats, we're not sure. But we know that he has done well in that opener role, and we know that people not named P.J. Poulin, when used as openers by the Nats this season, the results have been mixed. At times good, but at times not so good. And in this game, ultimately, that final line from Carson Palmquist, not good. So you on the last installment of the podcast talked about how the rotation spot of Andrew Alvarez might be in jeopardy with Jake Irvin on the mend. What about Miles Mikolas? We saw vast improvement from him in the month of May, but, you bottom line what he has put forth here. 21 games, including 8 starts, ERA of 5.60, whip of 1.34. Even with the improvement in the month of May, the numbers still are pretty rough, especially that ERA approaching 6. Do you think it could be Mikolas and not Alvarez whose rotation spot gets taken by Irvin?
I'm not saying that's not worth real consideration. And as you point out, Mikolas has really not done enough over the entirety of the season to suggest that his spot should be secure. The issue would be, if you do remove him from there, are you putting him in the bullpen, or are you just releasing him and cutting ties? Now, I'm not saying you can't do that. You get to a certain point in the year, you're trying to win games, you're in a pennant race. You can't afford to keep a veteran who has struggled to that extent, and you have better options. Maybe that's the way they go. It just felt to me like, given the team's needs right now, Alvarez, I think there's a case to be made that he could help you in the bullpen as that long lefty who pairs up with a Littell or an Irvin, however, or even a Mikolas, however you want to do that. Whereas keeping him in the rotation, He's been hit or miss there, hasn't been great. He doesn't usually go that deep in games either. I'm not saying Mikolas has done a great job, but given what you have, what your options are, it seems to me like there's more value in having Alvarez out of the bullpen. That's actually can impact more games in a positive way than removing Mikolas from the rotation / bulk man role that he's in.
Yeah, especially with Brad Lord injured, as we discussed on the last installment of the podcast. I do think, though, it's worth considering just because, again, Mikolas, it still is rough, and you still have to jump through all of these hoops, it feels like, every time his rotation spot comes up.
That's a good point, though, that if and when Brad Lord comes back, if that's after we've already seen Jake Irvin come back, maybe that's a corresponding move eventually when Lord comes back to take Mikolas' spot on the roster, and now you do have that other long man. That would be one way potentially to go. And I don't know if we talked about Lord the other day. He is throwing off a bullpen mound now. So he is making some progress. Still needs to face live hitters, probably pitching some rehab games, but he may not be super far off. And that would create a different kind of dilemma that you could make the argument that Mikolas could be the guy to go whenever that happens.
And I say this, and I'm not kidding when I say this, but there still is the wild card of Trevor Williams, who we know can serve as a reliever, could serve as a long man, could serve as a starting pitcher. I know that's not what everyone necessarily is, wanting, but that still is a possibility. Trevor Williams coming back from his surgery at some point here this season.
This installment of Nats Chat is brought to us by our friends at the Chesapeake Climate Action Network Action Fund, one of the best nonprofits fighting for a greener environment in the DMV. They're back with their 8th annual electric vehicle raffle for the planet, with all proceeds going to help their fight for cleaner air and a healthier Chesapeake Bay. The drawing is approaching on July 30th, and tickets are going fast. And with gas prices soaring, it's never been a better time to win an electric car. Here are 3 reasons you should visit the website evraffle.org and grab a raffle ticket today. Again, evraffle.org. Number 1, the prize options are amazing. First prize winner will choose their own luxury Rivian, Lucid, or Porsche EV worth up to $115,000. Second place will choose between the Rivian R2, Volkswagen ID Buzz, or a Hyundai Ioniq 5. And the third prize winner gets the amazing Chevy Bolt. Reason number 2, each ticket gets you 3 chances to win an EV, which means your odds are incredible. Tickets are just $200 and a limited number will be sold. They even cover taxes and fees on the prizes. And reason number 3, CCAN Action Fund funds for affordable clean energy nationwide. You can win a brand new EV and support a cleaner world. 3 lucky people are going to win, and you could be one of them. Get your ticket today at www.evraffle.org. That's evraffle.org, or check out the link in today's show notes.
If your business runs on 5 different apps, 12 browser tabs, and 1 spreadsheet that everyone's afraid to touch, it's probably time for Odoo. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that connects every part of your business into one powerful, easy-to-use platform. So instead of wasting time switching between disconnected systems, your entire business works together in real time. Your team moves faster, your data stays accurate, and you can actually focus on growing your business. Let one unified system run your entire business. From the first opportunity to the final payment, everything works together in one place. Whether you're a small business or managing a large operation, Odoo gives you one flexible platform built to grow with you. Learn more at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
2-2 pitch. Moniak clocks one high in the air to deep right field. Wood is going back. He's at the warning track, looking up. Forget it. A home run. The Rockies take the lead on their first home run of the night. Mickey Moniak's 16th of the year. It is 7-6 Colorado.
So the Nats in this game used 3 pitchers beyond the opener, Carson Palmquist, and the bulk man, Miles Mikolas. How about what Orlando Revolta did in this game? He retired each of the 2 batters he faced, and getting 2 monster outs, came into the game in the bottom of the 6th with the bases loaded, 1 out, and the Nats down 7-6. He generated back-to-back 4-pitch swinging strikeouts of the Rockies' numbers 3 and 4 batters in Hunter Goodman and Willie Castro. What a job by Orlando Revolta. Matt Crook then came into the game. He tossed a scoreless bottom of the 7th despite issuing a walk and despite giving up a single. But Clayton Beeter did allow what proved to be the game-winning run. 1 run in 1 inning. Bottom of the 8th gave up a 2-out full-count solo homer by Hunter Goodman to left field, despite him having been down at 1.12. Yet again, a Nats reliever failing to get a strikeout when having 2 strikes on a batter. Yet again, a Nats reliever giving up a home run. So you really had quite the juxtaposition here. Beeter giving up a brutal homer, although, like you said, the pitch wasn't awful. But Revolta, man, I was in awe of what he did in that spot, coming in with those 2 4-pitch swinging strikeouts of arguably the Rockies' 2 best hitters in Goodman and Castro.
The shame of them not winning this game is that if they do, Revolta is playing a starring role in that win to come through in that spot and not just get the outs, but on strikeouts. And I'm thinking to myself, as he's coming in, I'm thinking to myself, he's pitched in this situation a lot this year with the bases loaded. And I'm thinking he's really been successful. Well, I wonder how successful he's been. So I'm looking up the stats real quick as the first at-bat is taking place. This is remarkable. Counting this game, opponents are now 0 for 10 with 5 strikeouts against him with the bases loaded this year. There was a big one in Pittsburgh in April, I remember, and there's obviously been a bunch more since then. And I know it's only 10 at-bats, and you can't say that's like really enough of a sample to gauge a lot from it, but there's something to be said for a guy being thrown into the ultimate jam with no margin for error and having that kind of success, and actually with swings and misses. We've talked about how he's not necessarily a strikeout pitcher a lot, and how that's what the Nats are lacking so much in their bullpen. Guys who get swings and misses. That 5 out of the 10 outs he's recorded with the bases loaded have been strikeouts. Just phenomenal. And it really is a shame that it didn't mean more to the outcome of this game, because that felt like a huge moment, and he deserves all the praise in the world for what he has done to get his team out of those kind of jams all year long.
Well, it especially stands out, too, because one of the many flaws with this Nats bullpen is how bad it has been regarding allowing inherited runners to score. I have not looked at the number lately, but as of like last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, the Nats were dead last in MLB by miles in worst percentage in terms of allowing inherited runners to score. That has been a real problem for Nats relievers. So that Revolta has excelled in that regard is terrific. We do have some more bullpen maneuvering by Nats president of baseball operations, Paul Taboni. The Nats on Tuesday afternoon announced having recalled reliever Eddie Yean from AAA Rochester and announced having designated reliever Justin Lawrence for assignment. I asked this question understanding that the bullpen is day-to-day, but do you think that Yean is here to stay for at least a little while at the major league level, or should we not count on anything right now in terms of anyone staying around for a while?
The impression that Blake Butera gave is that they would like for this to be a longer-term stay.
It's hard to say right now. Would like to give him some runway, yes. But that being said, we never know how tonight's game is going to go out. The next game.
A lot depends on, number one, how he does. Number two, what the other needs of the team are on any given day. What we have seen them do at times this year, bring a guy up, he throws 2-3 innings. Even if he's successful, they've had to use so many pitchers and there's a game to be played the next day that they feel compelled to make another move and send him back down. That's kind of what happened to him in his debut game. The shame of that was they were then required to leave him down for 15 days before calling him up. Well, guess what? Tuesday was exactly 15 days from when he was sent down, and so he was allowed to come back up, and my guess is they were planning to do that all along. I want to see him again. Obviously, it was only one game, but it was impressive what we saw from him. I think they're very intrigued by what he could be for them. I would guess there's a good chance we see him in Wednesday's series finale, and if he does a halfway decent job, I've got to believe that we're going to see more of him and that this isn't just going to be a short-term thing, but there are factors at play here that don't just involve how he does. And as we know with this bullpen, it really is a day-to-day process.
Yeah, the Eddie Yean game, in case you forgot, was all the way back on July 5th. Now, that was essentially a blowout loss for the Nats, an 11-5 loss to the Pittsburgh Pirates at Nationals Park. But Eddie Yean in that game and making his MLB regular season debut, 2 scoreless and hitless innings with 3 strikeouts. So he looked really good. Well, one of the shames of this 8-7 Nats loss at the Rockies on Tuesday night is that the Nats offense, again, was quite good. 7 runs, 10 hits, which were 2 home runs, a triple, 3 doubles, and 4 singles, 2 walks, 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position. The Nats did strike out 10 times and did make some bad outs on the base paths. including 2 outs and runners trying to score from third base on contact plays. We have seen the Nats get burned in that way previously, and that's probably something the team needs to reevaluate. But, you score 7 runs, you should win. You have as many extra base hits as the Nats had in this game, 6, you should win. One of your best players hits 2 two-run homers, you should win. The Nats' top 2 position players, James Wood and C.J. Abrams, each putting forth a big game. Abrams as the Nats starting shortstop and number 4 batter, 2 for 3 with 2 two-run homers and a walk. He now has 4 home runs over the Nats' last 3 games and having homered in each game. Abrams in the Nats' 2-run first, a 2-out 2-run homer to right center field for a 2-0 Nats lead. That homer going a projected 423 feet per Statcast. Abrams in the Nats' 2-run third, a 2-out 2-run homer to right center field to tie the game at 4. That homer going a projected 434 feet per Statcast. James Wood, he was the Nats starting right fielder and number 1 batter, 2 for 5 with a 2-run double and another double. Wood in the Nats' 2-run fourth, a 2-out opposite field 2-run double to left field on an 0-2 pitch for a 6-5 Nats lead. So Abrams and Wood coming through. We had Luis Garcia Jr. Having the triple in this game. He was the Nats starting first baseman and number 2 batter, 2 for 5 with a triple and a single. And I'll tell you, the first inning run thing, I know we've talked about it a bunch, but man, the Nats are so good in these first innings. So the Nats continue to be number 1 in MLB in runs. That number now is at 559. Included in that is an MLB best 78 first inning runs. 13.95% of the Nats' runs have been first inning runs. In each game in this series, really for a good portion of this road trip, we've seen the Nats excel in these first innings. Happened again, and of course what ended up being a rather wild game.
The first inning stuff has been tremendous, and especially on the road. And I don't know if there's a breakdown of how many they scored on the road in particular, but it feels like that's been such a big part of their road success this year, getting out to a quick lead, and very often with an early home run, whether it's James Wood, Luis Garcia, or in this case, C.J. Abrams. Abrams absolutely on fire right now. His reaction to the second homer was hilarious. He almost like shrugged like, all right, I guess another one. It's like he's just coming to expect this now. He's on such a roll right now, and it was really nice to see that.
It was just fun. I don't know, it was like, there it goes again.
I was glad to see James Wood hit the ball with some authority again. I know it's only a few games, but we did talk about the Sacramento series. It kind of looked like second half 2025, James Wood with a lot of strikeouts. He looked better on Monday, and he made some really good contact in this game. The 2-run opposite field double, and then 113 miles an hour off the bat on the 7th inning double. So that was good. First inning runs good. They've really done a nice job of setting the tone with all this. 7 runs should be enough to win a game, yes. But I also think at Coors Field, it's a different scale. Like 7 here is like 4 or 5 elsewhere. And I understand that you say, well, they didn't lose this game because of not enough offense, but you could make the argument that there was an opportunity to score more than that, and they didn't convert, especially later on in the game. And when you're playing at this ballpark, knowing what your bullpen is, I hate to put this on the offense, but sometimes they're going to have to just carry the day and keep going and just try to outlast the other team, because it's a lot to ask of your pitching staff to hold them down late in the game, especially in a ballpark like this.
What about the contact plays, especially that second one in which Dalen Lyle got caught in a rundown between third and home, and then Nasim Nunez gets caught in a rundown between first and second? What looked like it had the potential to be a big inning ended up really just fizzling out there. But running automatically on these contact plays, that has gotten the Nats in trouble, got the Nats in trouble multiple times in this game.
In this game, and really for several months now, I think we've seen this happen a lot, and it feels like they run into outs in those situations way more than they score a run when they run the contact play. And it bothered me. I don't love it, but I'll tell you what, Blake Butera gave like an impassioned defense of calling for the contact play in both those spots and just in general.
With one out there, we're going to run contact. Just especially with where we're at, just really 2 unfortunate ones. You can't try and guess where the ball's going to be hit. You just got to go on the ground, because if you hesitate and wait to see where it's hit, you're going to be out. The
argument would be that the base runner, you can't wait, you can't hesitate to see where the ball's going to go. You have to be willing to go right away. And if it happens to be hit right at somebody well, you're out of luck. And then he also said, as far as the double play was concerned in this one, Nunez has the right idea, busting it. He sees that Lyle's in a rundown. He thinks, well, maybe I can at least get to second base. And then he slips around first. And the next thing you know, it turns into a double play.
Nas is running his tail off, trying to get to second base. Dalen's trying to stay in the rundown. Tagged him out early there. I thought Nas was going to be able to get back to first, but he just slips and loses his footing there. And there's not much you can do. At the end of the day, we're asking these guys to go 100%. And Nas busting out of the box, knowing that there's going to be a play at home plate, just doing everything he can to get in the scoring position there. We asked these guys to play at full speed, and that's what he did.
I get the argument from Butera on that. I would just ask, why do you have to run that play all the time? I get it. You don't want to hesitate and then, oh, well, it's a grounder to the hole. I guess I'll run. No, you hesitate in case the ball gets through. And if it's a base hit, you score. And if not, you stay at third and give the next guy a chance to drive you in. I'm sure they've looked at numbers. I'm sure in the bigger picture it says you're better off trying to put pressure on the defense. And let's be clear, the Nats are not the only team that does this. If you didn't see the end of the Phillies-Dodgers game where a similar situation occurs and they ran into a double play in even more horrific fashion than the Nats did to end that game. So clearly the Nats are not alone in this regard. I just don't always understand why it's such a foregone conclusion that you have to run on contact. Why not tell them, read the play. If it gets through, go. If it doesn't, stay at third and let's give the next batter a chance.
The thing I would wonder, too, is in a season in which your offense is hitting for power and is producing at such a high rate, why take unnecessary chances? Why take unnecessary risks? This is not a team that has to manufacture runs. These are not the 2022 and 2023 Nats where you had, a boatload of infield singles and that's how you had a big inning. This is a team that hits homers and laces doubles and draws walks. This is a big boy adult offense. This is an R-rated offense. Let it do its work. And if you have runners on base, you have ducks on the pond, as the saying goes, let them be there. And if a guy doesn't score on a ground out to second base, that's okay because the next guy might smash a double into the left center field gap. I'm a little surprised that the Nats don't view it that way. But like you said, they're operating with data and intel that we do not have access to. And so maybe the numbers and the information that the team has are clear. But man, I don't know. When you're hitting the way this team is hitting this season, especially with two guys in James Wood and CJ Abrams who are performing at such high levels, it's just let people be on base if need be and let your batters do what they've done so well. And that's generate hits and produce runs.
Well, and a good example of that, the first one that they ran the out in, it was Garcia on third, runs into the out on Tena's grounder back to the mound. Who was the next batter? C.J. Abrams. What did he do? Home run. Now, Tena's probably going to be thrown out at first on that play if the runner doesn't go because it's a comebacker to the mound. So it still ends up being a 2-run homer. But point being, maybe sometimes as you're making that decision what play to put on, keep in mind of who's on deck. And knowing who some of your hitters are, maybe it is worth the risk of not trying to force a run there in the hopes that the next guy up could get the job done for you.
22 home runs for CJ. Lorenzen fires. Swinging a long drive right center field. Back on this one, Johnston to the track, looking up, and it is gone down to the Nationals bullpen. C.J. Abrams homers again, his third straight game with a 2-run homer. Nationals jump on top in the first 2-0. Home run number 23 for C.J. Abrams.
So the Nats on this 6-game trip out west won games 1 and 3 and winning 2 out of 3 games at the Athletics in West Sacramento. So far in this 3-game series at the Colorado Rockies, won game 1, lost game 2. So if the pattern holds, the Nats could have some success come game 3 at the Rockies on Wednesday afternoon. First pitch, 3:10. Cade Cavalli set to be the Nats starting pitcher. A 4-2 trip out west. I don't think anybody would have any complaints about that. It's kind of a funny deal with Cavalli pitching again. It feels like he has pitched every other game for the Nats here lately, but that's the way that things played out with him starting the final game before the All-Star break and then the first game after the All-Star break. It is Coors Field, but Cavalli seems to be locked in right now, so I certainly like his chances to do well, to get the Nats the series win and wrap up what would be a nice 4-2 trip.
Yeah, I think so. Is it unfair to call this a must-win game? I mean, I know it's late July, but to lose a series to the Rockies, to go home at 3-3 on this trip. Look, they're going to go into this game a game and a half out in the wild card race, but there are 4 teams ahead of them for that final spot. We're not even talking about the first 2 wild cards, but the final spot. As we sit here right now, the Pirates have that. The Diamondbacks, Cardinals, and Marlins are all a half game back. The Nats are a game and a half. All those teams in front of them lost on Tuesday. The Cardinals have lost 4 in a row. The Marlins have lost 8 in a row. I get this was a Coors Field game and you never know what's going to happen. If the Nats find a way to win a close game on Tuesday, and they did not, they're really in the middle of this thing, a half game out tied with a bunch of other teams. And so it does put pressure on you now, I think, to win the finale on Wednesday. It doesn't mean it's the end of the season if they don't, but 4-2 on this trip and keeping yourself over 500 and within, at least a game and a half of the wild card spot, maybe even less than that as you come home now. I think there's a big difference between that. These next 2 weeks, every game is really important. And you can say, okay, they're not going to win out, but whatever their record is over these first 2 weeks coming out of the break, that's going to make or break what they decide to do at the trade deadline. And so every opportunity you have to win a series, every opportunity you have to win a close game, they have to take advantage of it. There's just not a lot of margin for error if they want to go into the trade deadline sort of forcing Paul Taboni's hand and say, yes, we are in this thing. We're going to add, not subtract.
Especially with Cade Cavalli being the Nats starting pitcher, especially with how bad the Rockies pitching is. The Rockies offense actually is pretty good, but the Rockies pitching is atrocious, man. So this absolutely is a series that the Nats should win. What I would love to know is this. What does Paul Taboni and his staff view as the requisite win total in order for the Nats to make the postseason? With 3 wild card spots now, you can have some real variance in terms of how many wins are necessary to make the postseason in a given season. So as Taboni and his people look at the standings, look at the upcoming opposing teams for the various contenders, does Taboni view this as, okay, we got to get to at least 87 wins, 89 wins, 84 wins? Like, what is that number? Because I think that could play a role in what Taboni does regarding that trade deadline that's coming up on August 3rd at 6 p.m. Eastern. Like, what kind of a season is this in terms of how many wins do you need to get one of those 3 NL wildcard spots?
So I'd be curious if they're looking at it that way in terms of what's the end number you need to get to versus how much they're looking at what the standings are literally there on the first couple of days of August, because they could be, I just said right now, they're a game and a half out. You say, well, hey, you're in it. But you're also staring up at 4 teams in front of you. And it's not that easy to gain ground on that many teams. If you're trailing one team by 3 or 4 games, you're really in the thick of it. If you're trailing 4 teams by 2 games, that's a much tougher challenge. On any given day to gain ground is tough. Now, like I said, everybody else lost on Tuesday, which makes this loss sting, I think, even more. I'd be curious if they view it as a win total or if they're viewing it more as a how many games back are we and how many teams are in front of us. And that, when you get to August 3rd, I could argue maybe even matters more than whatever the actual record is, whether you're 3 games over, 1 game over, 1 game under. Where are you in relation to the other contenders for that spot? I think that could be the make or break difference of how they approach this.
And of course, the 2 are tied together, right? I mean, if you are bunched in tight with a bunch of teams, then the requisite win total probably is higher than if, you're not bunched in with so many teams. Man, baseball is crazy, right? The Marlins were on fire, and now you look up and the Marlins have 8 consecutive losses. Like, this has been such a wacky season. You look at the Philadelphia Phillies off their bad start, and then they took off the Boston Red Sox. I know that's the American League, but the Red Sox got off to such a rough start. Like, the Phillies fired the manager, and now the Red Sox have won 14 consecutive games. So who knows? And that's the thing, too. The Nats have done what they've done without truly taking off. Like, they haven't had a substantial winning streak or losing streak. Are we in store for either down the stretch, or is this team going to continue to operate as it has, which is, win 3, lose 3, win 4 out of 6, lose 4 out of 6, that kind of a thing. We have not seen a 6-game winning streak or a 6-game losing streak for this Nats team so far.
They are 51-51 as we speak. And to be honest, that's kind of who they are. They're a 500 team. Now, that doesn't mean the final 2+ months of the season can't go in either direction. But we have 4 months of evidence now to suggest that they are good enough to be right around 500, but not good enough to be better than that, but not bad enough to really fall much below. And what that does is it puts you in this very precarious position where it can still go either way. And it's not 100% clear, are they in this thing or are they not? And that's why I said, like, every game they play between now and August 3rd, I think carries extra weight. Of course, if they get to September and they're still in this thing, those games are going to mean even more. But right now, these 2 weeks, I think, are critical for them because it truly can go either way, both because of the scenario that they're in themselves and where the rest of the National League sits.
This installment of Nats Chat brought to us by the nonprofit Chesapeake Climate Action Network Action Fund. Tired of paying $4 for a gallon of gas? CCAN Action Fund is raffling 3 amazing electric cars, including a Rivian SUV, as part of an annual fundraiser to fight for clean air in the DMV. The drawing is on July 30th, almost here. Tickets available at evraffle.org. That's evraffle.org. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. Thank you for listening. And we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast.
The 0-1 pitch. Swung on and hit up the third base line, and now they've got Crawford caught in a rundown. He's dancing. They'll get JT to third, and now they're running him back and now JT is running back to second, and he is going to be thrown out at second. A double play.
Are you kidding me?
As they tag Crawford, and then they get JT trying to get back to second. He should have just stayed on third base and allowed them to tag Crawford. Instead, he tried to get back to second. Crawford tagged out. Real Muto tagged out. Ball game over. Wow. That is a tough way for this one to end. It was a squibber up the third base line. Crawford broke for home. Get him in the rundown, tag him out, and they get Real Muto trying to get back to second.